Hey everyone, I'm glad I finally got back around to making this video. If you guys remember the last video where I was trying to bring back the uppercut, the way I did that video was more centered around how we can bring back Rising Uppercut while keeping his power block, so we can have the whole, the whole system with his empowered fist. But the more I looked into it, and then after many discussions in the comment section with you guys, it does seem like Empowered Fist is not the way to go with Doomfist playstyle. And no, I'm not saying that Doomfist is weak or bad, right? Personally, I think he's actually a very powerful tank. He might actually be like top 3 tanks out right now. I think almost everybody in the top 500 who plays tank, like something like half of them like play Doomfist. So he's very viable. I just don't think the direction of the character has been, the best way to go about it. Especially with the buff that he got with his meteor strike, where he heals. Well, the longer he's in the sky, the longer he heals. Which, you're not going to hit anybody, right? You're not going to be hitting anybody if you stay up there too long. But I guess you can go in and then it's an escape, right? But then that's kind of a useless ultimate. But we'll get into all of that. So yes, in this video we will be reworking Doomfist so that he has a Rising Uppercut and he gets rid of that power block. The power block and Empowered Fist playstyle. And we're also going to make sure he's not OP, because the devs have said that they're trying to avoid certain things, and we've seen the direction they're going in with the Season 9 patch. So we're going to kind of keep it as realistic as possible. So if you've been watching my videos, you know the deal. I read all the comments at the end of the video. Leave a comment. I go through all the comments, and we have a discussion and debates in the comment section, and it's fun. Great discussion, and it's always friendly. I don't think it's ever been bad. So, and then if we get into a great conversation and there's some information I didn't know or some things like that, I do make follow-up videos. So yeah, leave a comment, and it'll be worth it, and I'll see you guys there. Anyways, let's begin. So first, let's talk about his passive, the best defense. So if you guys have seen, my previous videos about how kind of I break down tanks and, their quality and all that type of stuff, you will remember that there are 3 specific traits that are more unique to tanks. Not that other characters don't have it, but these are kind of defining traits for tanks. And if they don't have one of these things, it's compensated in another way. So these 3 traits are the ability for crowd controlling, for damage prevention, and sustainability. And Doomfist's best defense is his sustainability, because sustainability is essentially how a tank is able to, generate health, whether it's permanent or over health. So yeah, usually, and I think in almost all cases, it allows you to put on health without stopping you from doing other stuff, right? So you put on HP, and you can keep attacking, you keep moving, you keep doing all this stuff. It just kind of sustains you to do what you want to do. Now, there are 2 exceptions for this, right? There is Reinhardt, who has 0 sustainability, right? He has a shield, but that's more damage prevention. And when he has his shield up, he can't attack, but that's a different video I'm gonna make. And there's also Roadhog, who, while he heals, he can only heal, but he heals so much so fast, he's essentially just kind of full HP and then can keep doing whatever it is he was doing. So that's kind of his way of doing it. Anyways, for Doomfist, the more he attacks, the more health he generates. And that sustains him over time. That's why he could keep fighting for a long time. As long as he has an ability, he's probably not going to die. So, if you run through everything, that's usually when a Doomfist ends up being killed. But the unique thing about Doomfist is that his sustain ability is tied into his attack and his damage prevention ability. As in, he doesn't have defense matrix like D.Va, he doesn't have a shield like Reinhardt, but he put those stats in his evasiveness, right? Because the more he attacks, the harder he is to hit, right? When he's in the middle of punching somebody, when he's kind of leaping, seismic slamming left and right. During those moves, he gets away. Like, you can't shoot him. He's very difficult to shoot, and he essentially just gets away. So the more he attacks, the harder he is to attack, while he generates more HP, and he's also doing damage to whoever the enemy is. So with every one thing he does, he essentially gets 3 things out of it. So the reason I'm kind of going through this explanation before we get into the changes of how we're going to be changing his best defense ability is because with that in mind, realize we're adding him the rising uppercut now, right? So now he has another move he can cycle through that would also be doing 3 things. So, you know, if you add for every move he has, he gets 3 things out of it. Now we're adding 1 move to him. So it can kind of spiral out of control. The amount of HP he'll be able to generate, how hard he'll be able to hit, and, you know, all that stuff. So the change I'll be doing to the best defense is overhealth generated will now have a max of 40 HP generated and a minimum of 20 HP generated, depending on the ability and other factors on that. So notice it's not a flat 35 anymore, right? Right now, whoever Doomfist hits, he always gets like 35 HP out of it. Right? Seismic slams, it doesn't matter where you are, you just generate him HP. But now, depending on how close you are to your target when you attack and whether the person is the primary person you're attacking, like the person who's actually been hit by your punch, for example, instead of the people around who are affected by the AoE, you get the 40, you get the max amount of HP generated for essentially more targeted abilities. Right, so let's say the closer somebody is to your second slam, the more HP you're going to generate. The further away they are, the less you're going to generate. When you know, let's say you rocket punch somebody, the person hit by the initial rocket punch is going to generate you more HP. Everybody else is going to generate less HP because now you have a whole other move you can cycle through, and it can spiral out of control. it can spiral out of control. Sorry. So yeah, this is the change we're going to do here. And, you know, the max of 40 is higher than the flat 35 because I do want to reward more deliberate play. I do want to reward, you know, aiming and kind of focusing on, you know, targets and things like that instead of just, I see a group, YOLO, I'm just going to attack the entire group and just get a bunch of things out of there. I want to raise the skill ceiling to a character who already has a pretty high skill ceiling, but yeah. So now let's move on to the rocket punch. So rocket punch damage is reduced from 25 to 75 impact damage, and you know that's how much you charge it, right? So from 25 to 75 impact damage to 30 to 60 impact damage, and the wall damage is reduced from 10 to 40 damage to 15 to 30 damage. So max damage before was I think like right now it's like 115, so we're reducing it to 90. So there's 2 reasons for this, right? One, with the latest buff to his damage, Doomfist punch is kind of strong. It's actually really strong, right? 115 damage. I know everybody got the buff to their HP, but I don't think it feels good for squishies to die to that move because it takes out like more than half of their HP. So, and then you have the AoE effect with it, right? So you could just punch a ton of people for 115 damage, like in an instant. So I think it's kind of getting dangerously close to the Doomfist from Overwatch 1, which I know we all love, but everybody else hated. So, you know, I'm trying to keep in line with what Blizzard was trying to do with Doomfist, right? People don't like getting one shot, they don't like getting 2-shotted, they don't like getting exploded or anything like that. So that's one of the reasons why I'm reducing the damage to his punch. The second reason I'm reducing the damage is he has a rising uppercut now, right? He has another move, so it more than makes up for the reduced damage he'll be doing with the punch. But wait, there's more changes. So the other change I want to do is the characters impacted by the AoE of the punch, not the initial, you know, not the impact, you know, not people who aren't actually hit by the fist, but, you know, the AoE around it. They take half the damage that the initial target has received, right? It is, and I've said this over a year now, I do think it's a bit weird that he could just hit a group of people for max damage. Like they all just take all the damage. I think that's a lot. But they still take the full knockback, as in, you know, the distance that they travel when punched, right? So the half damage applies to the initial impact and if they get hit into a wall. And it also goes into something I said earlier where even now, I believe that I know there is quite a lot of damage right now in Overwatch 2, and I do think, let's say like support characters, I do think they need another nerf to their damage. I think tanks right now, they don't do as much damage as before, but I think the damage thing should be more left to the DPS, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, so I think everybody who's affected by the AoE and not by the initial punch, I think they should take half damage. And again, he has another move, right? That also, his uppercut, when we get to the uppercut, it does have an AoE damage thing also. So you're not, just kind of losing everything. And I also, like I said before, I do want to, reward or prioritize more deliberate movement, right? I want you to actually focus on the person you're trying to hit instead of just hitting one person and then everybody takes the full brunt of the damage. You'd be like, oh, I'm trying to hit this Lucio, let me go after this Lucio, instead of there's this Lucio behind this Reinhardt, so let me punch the Reinhardt, and I know the Lucio is just gonna die, and like it's yeah. So I guess to follow up with that, I would also change that for the over health generated with Rocket Punch. The main person you hit gives you 40 HP, and everybody else who's affected by the AoE, they give you 20 HP. This is the same thing that I said earlier, right? With the best defense comment I made. Well, changes that I made. We are rewarding, again, more deliberate attacks. So instead of having just a flat 35 all around. And again, we have to nerf this move because we're giving him a whole other move, right? And from what I said before, every move Doomfist has, he gets 3 things out of it. So, we have to balance it out because we're trying to be realistic here, guys. We're trying to be some game devs. So yeah, that's why for all these, the reason for all these nerfs here. And his rising uppercut's back. Okay, remember, you have a whole other move. You're gonna get more out of that than what we're taking out of here. The next change to his rocket punch is that he no longer has his the wall stun, right? So if you punch somebody into a wall, they're not stunned anymore, because this move has been, well, this I guess this trait for his rocket punch has been nerfed so many times. I don't even know why it's even here anymore. Like, how long does it even last? Like, when you punch somebody into a wall, they're only stunned for 0.15 seconds. That's dumb. Like that's insulting. Like let's just get rid of this. Let's just get rid of this because, there's also another reason to get rid of this, right? Because remember, the devs, they don't really want CC like that, like a crazy amount of CC. So to have this in that doesn't really do anything is kind of dumb, especially since we're going to be giving Doomfist another CC, right? Which is his rising uppercut, which, lifts people up in the air. So let's just get rid of the dead weight. Like, let's cut the fat out. Just, if you're going to have CC, let's make it worth something. So Rocket Punch already punches groups of people into walls, off ledges, like kind of deep, makes them out of position. So let's get rid of the trash. And this is one of the trash CCs that he has. There's no reason to have a wall stun for 15 seconds. That's for nobody. And since we're also getting rid of the empowered fist, the stun from empowered fist when you punch somebody into a wall is actually noticeable. It actually is helpful, but we no longer have empowered fist, so that's gonna be gone. So now let's move on to the rising uppercut.
I would like to interrupt this video to ask you to like and subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, chances are you kind of like what I'm talking about. So, help me out, guys.
So rising uppercut will deal 60 damage to target hit by the move and 30 damage to everyone else within the area of effect. And the area of effect will essentially be the same area of effect of his rocket punch. So pretty small, yes, but you can still get 2-3 people in there at a time. And you see, again, the damage distribution is more rewarding for the person when you're trying to hit somebody, as opposed to just YOLOing in there, just, oh, there's a group, everybody. Like, you can aim at the person you're actually trying to hit. And enemies affected by the uppercut and in the AoE will be launched in the air an equal height as the Wrecking Ball's pile driver. And the reason for this is, the reason it's not the way it was in Overwatch 1, where you launch people into the air and they're essentially just frozen in the air as you shoot them in the head, is the CC thing. that essentially that they're trying to get rid of, right? I don't want this to be too oppressive. I think launching people up in the air is good enough, and you have the added benefit of you can look down and shoot them in the head, right? But I don't like the idea of them just being frozen in place as they're launched like 2 stories into the air, and they can't really do anything about that. That's, you know, one of the things for Overwatch 2 is we're trying to reduce CC, and he already has his rocket punch, right? And a whole bunch of other things that we're gonna get into. So I think that height is good. It's kind of like a stronger than a boop, but not quite the uppercut from Overwatch 1. And next is the over health generated from the target would be 40 HP, and from everybody else in the AoE would be 20. And again, how many times I have to repeat myself, guys? Deliberate movement. And yeah, this move will have a 6-second cooldown. So yeah, good old Rising Uppercut is back in action. Mainly used to kind of set up combos, right? You can uppercut somebody and then, you know, shoot them in the leg, shoot them in the face. Since you're going to be over them, right? I don't know if I emphasized that when I said that you go higher than them. You go higher than them, and then you can kind of shoot down people's heads. Or, you know, uppercut and punch somebody off a cliff. That used to be something I used to love doing. Especially in, what is it, Ilios, where you can't just punch people like through the through the doors off the ledge. You have to kind of raise them up a little bit. But yeah, you could also now, you know, uppercut and seismic slam onto high buildings that you couldn't reach before. So there you go. And speaking of a seismic slam, let's talk about seismic slam now. So the damage to seismic slam has been changed from 40 to 70 damages near the impact area to 25 to 40 damage the further away you go. Now for these 2 ranges, there's a fun thing to this. But the ranges, like I said before, you know, the more deliberate you are, the more we're going to reward that, right? And right now I think his 50 damage is kind of low. He does a flat 50, but the ranges from, like, let's say from 40 to 70, right? If you, you know, if you get them right at the impact point, the range in that depends on your air time. And yes, the air time mechanic is back, right? I think that was the coolest thing about Doomfist in Overwatch 1, where when you want to seismic slam, you see the numbers go up, and it's like you kind of clench your cheeks and, you know, you bite your lips, and then he hits the ground and you get that nice 75 damage, and it feels really good. I think that's maybe one of the most satisfying things I've ever experienced in a video game, to be honest. Like, that was so... That was such a good thing for the move that just made it just feels so natural, like it belongs there, right? I still have that feeling now when I seismic slam from a long distance, and as I see myself kind of going down, I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. So it's just a normal feeling. And it makes sense, right? Because if you're coming in from a long distance, the enemy can see you coming. They have the time to kind of leave, get out the area, all that stuff. So, you know, why not reward, you know, those actually hitting somebody when the enemy sees you coming, right? They're going to take 70 to the face. And you can see how the amount of damage he'll be doing is potentially insane, right? That's why we had to do all the nerfs earlier, because now he has 3 things he can cycle through. Because right now, let's say in a fight, Doomfist right now, if I slam in, I do 50 damage, and then 6 seconds later, like let's say I'm fighting a Reinhardt, like I slam behind him, like, again, right? So it's just like slam, and it's 100 damage to him and everybody who's there, and it doesn't take much effort. I just press the button, turn around, hit him in the back. And I guess Reinhardt's not the best example because he has a shield and all that armor, but let's say like a squishy, right? If I don't kill the squishy in 6 seconds after I slam in there, I know I'm gonna have another slam, they're gonna die, and it takes no effort. I just kind of do it like real quick, and his hop is like a quarter of a second when you're doing it from that close to the ground. Yeah, I think the reduced damage is warranted for this, because a lot of times, let's say I'm fighting a tracer, I don't even know who's there. I just kind of slam and just pick off anybody who might be in the general area, because his seismic slam goes through like the payloads, right? So if there's somebody on the other side, I'll just, let me just hit the ground. It just kind of travels through, and you know, anybody on that side, I don't know who you are, but you know, I often get picks like that. And I know 70 damage might seem like a lot, but everybody just got their HP buff. And again, it's if you really target, if you get that impact, if they're like really close to you, right? So we want to reward that type of play. So yeah, with these damage numbers, if you slam in uppercut or squishy, and then, you know, within like you slam in, you know, get the sweet spot, you uppercut, get the sweet spot, and then like shoot them once or twice, you deserve the kill, right? They're gonna die. And you would know, and they would know, that what you just did isn't necessarily just such an easy thing to do. Especially since now you have to actually aim and like pick a target. And I guess the last change for this move is over health generated. What this move is from impact is like, from the people really close to you, 40 HP all the way down to 20 HP at the edges of the AoE of this move. So, you know, this one has kind of a range. So, you know, depending where they are, it could be 35, it could be 30, it could be 25. So, yeah, again, you guys want to keep repeating it? Well, I'll say it again. We are rewarding accuracy and deliberate movement. So yeah. Because if you look at it, if you slam in, punch, and uppercut a person, or whatever, you know, rotation you want to do, you get 120 HP, like really fast. That's a lot of HP, especially for these cooldowns aren't even that long. And they could hit multiple people. So if you get 2 people, you get 180. So this could, yeah, like this is what I said earlier, guys. With everything he can do, he gets 3 things. So with one combo, he could generate over 200 HP and get 1 kill. And then he just has to wait, essentially 4 seconds to do it all again. Okay, now for his ultimate. So his ultimate is garbage. Meteor Strike is garbage, and it sucks, and it doesn't really do anything for Doomfist. Yes, they buffed his the amount of damage it does, which is nice. It does something now, but it's more still just used to escape. And the healing mechanic on it is weird. It's clunky. It's just a bunch of things kind of duct taped together that doesn't really help his flow like at all. But the thing about Doomfist is he's still a very powerful tank while having a garbage ultimate. So I don't want to do anything too crazy because it's because that will make him crazy. Doomfist is very powerful in the right hands. So I didn't want to make anything too crazy, but I think you guys are gonna like what I have in mind, because you guys liked it the last time I mentioned something like this. And it's essentially, I think somebody had described it as a install ultimate, or kind of like a transformation. If you guys have played Super Smash Bros, you know how Wario transforms into Super Wario and his moveset kind of changes. That's essentially what we're going to be doing here. And we are going to double down on his fisting abilities. So his new ultimate is called Empowered Fist. Yes, it survived. The Empowered Fist survived. And they say that, well, even that's his passive, right? The best defense is a good offense. So that's what we're doing here. We're gonna make him double down on how much he fights, because that is his superpower. With everything he does, he gets 3 things out of it. So we're gonna make each of those things even more powerful. So essentially the way this is gonna work is similar to Sojourn's ultimate, where her railgun is essentially, you know, constantly charging up. So for Doomfist, his fist is going to be charging up for 12 seconds, right? And it will, he's going to be in this state for 12 seconds, and it will take 3 seconds for him to get a full charge, and he can stock up to 3 at a time, right? So let's say in a total, during the duration of this, he'll be able to get 4. And any move he does that uses his gauntlet gets an empowered effect to it. So whether it's the rocket punch, the rising uppercut, or the seismic slam, there's going to be an added effect, more damage, all that type of stuff. So yeah, all gauntlet moves, their AoE is increased by 30%, kind of like what it is now. When he gets an empowered fist, you know how when you punch somebody, the difference between when you punch somebody with an empowered fist compared to non-empowered is it's huge. Like you punch a whole team, right? So the AoE for all his moves that use the gauntlet is increased by 30%. All damage is increased by 25%. But Rocket Punch has a faster travel speed, travels further, and pushes people back farther, just like it does now when it's empowered. Rising Uppercut essentially will double how high everybody goes. So, you know, your main target would essentially, they'll go up to the levels that they were back in Overwatch 1. So, you do get that back. And Seismic Slam will pull everybody, hit by the Seismic Slam towards you by 5 meters, again, like it did in Overwatch 1. And I think this would be awesome. Not just awesome, because since you're getting the version of a lot of these moves that you had back in Overwatch 1 without the without the one-hit KO-ness of it all, I think it's a nice nostalgic feeling, we're gonna get back. It'll feel good. You'll see the source of everything. And the cool thing about this, since it's cycling, right, and you essentially have 4 empowered things you can do, the combo potential for this would be nasty, would be insane. Like, I would love to see what some of the best Doomfist players in the world would be able to do with something this crazy. I'm leaving it open-ended like this just because I want to see what people can do. And that was the big thing about Doomfist before, right? People who just kind of learned his mechanics so well, they were just doing the most gnarly things you'd ever see somebody do on Overwatch. So, yeah. And also, a side note, it doesn't reset your cooldowns, right? Or decrease your cooldowns in any way. So, all cooldowns are the same. So, you'll still only get things like once or twice. If it did reset your cooldowns, that would kind of be OP. But, who knows? Maybe, that could be changed. We'll see what you guys say in the comment section. So yeah, there you guys have it. Now you can fight using your slam, your uppercut, and your punch to, focus on targets and generate a ton of overhealth, do a ton of damage, cycle through anything you want. This is much more dynamic. He's already pretty dynamic now, but we'll be getting back the dynamic, more stylish play, personal stylish play that Doomfist had in Overwatch 1. He had many more different ways of being played, right? The way I would play would be different from how the best people would play. And even among all the best people playing, like they were, like you had Sepmito, you get Quaked On, and you had Zebra. None of them played the same way, right? He was so versatile. You can do a lot of things with him. So we're getting that back. And with these changes, we are going to be rewarding good players. We're going to be raising the skill ceiling again. And if you do it right, you'll be a monster. Adding that one move buffed Doomfist in several different ways. It makes him harder to hit. It makes him generate more HP. It makes him do more damage just because we added one move. So yeah, like I said, if you leave a comment, I'll be responding to every single comment. And if something updates my thinking, I'll make a follow-up video, and I'll be down there debating, fighting, scrapping, all that type of stuff. So leave a comment to tell me if you like it, if you don't like it, or even just if you want to, help me out for the algorithm. And like and subscribe. And also don't forget, I love you. And as usual, at the end of the videos, I put the ad on for my first published book ever. So it's a high fantasy adventure book with a fun mystery to solve, and it's going to be a series. It's really, I think it's the best book ever written. So yeah, here's the ad.
Konfaga, Roots of a Very Old Tree, a high fantasy young adult book with a modern take on African mythology. After a mysterious confrontation with his father at school, Marcus Jobda finds himself in the land of Kara. With a small band of determined adventurers and a robust magic system he must quickly learn, Marcus begins his search for his family, a way home, and simultaneously tries to discover the mystery of the disappearances. From escaping Mamiwara and preventing wars between kingdoms, he'll need every edge his wits can give him to see the next day. However, the more he learns, the less things appear as they seem. But does he really want to go back to his old life? With hundreds of illustrations filled with clues of the history of the world, join Marcus as he attempts to solve this mystery. Konfaga, Roots of a Very Old Tree is available now on Amazon. Link in the description.